A lengthy period of compulsory military service, widely introduced from the last decades of the 19th century, except in Britain and the United States, was one way of building popular identity with the nation and preparing for large-scale mobilization. The Great War was a watershed in the evolution of mass mobilization. Though none of the nations involved expected the war to develop into a war of attrition and national survival, fighting could only be sustained by large incremental increases in military manpower and through the organized exploitation of industry and agriculture to supply weapons, feed the armed forces, and sustain popular commitment at home. The wartime experience cemented the idea that victory in modern industrialized total war depended on the unrestricted mobilization of national resources, and that responsibility for conducting such a war extended to the whole national community, men and women, rather than simply the current armed forces. This was particularly so in Germany, whose military leaders assumed that defeat in 1918 represented a failure of national mobilization. General Erich Ludendorff, who coined the term total war in his post war memoirs, argued that nations in the future had to be prepared to put their mental, moral, physical, and material forces in the service of war. 20 years later, Adolf Hitler explained to his generals in a meeting in May 1939 that if a major war occurred, they should not expect a quick victory, as the army had hoped for in 1914. Every state will hold out as long as it can. The unrestricted use of all resources is essential. The idea of getting out cheaply is dangerous. There is no such possibility. A month later, the Reich Defense Council, chaired by Hermann Göring, the commander-in-chief of the German Air Force, started planning on the basis that if a general war between the great powers happened again, then the entire active population of 43.5 million men and women would have to be mobilized, at least 7 million of them in the armed forces, the rest producing food, equipment, and weapons for the war effort.